Greetings, brothers and sisters. This is Professor Spira, and for a while I've wanted to do a commentary video on this health documentary that I made years ago for Booker T. Washington Holistic Health Fair, and figure I'd give you a little bit of history about what we were doing back then and why this was made and that kind of stuff. And I know a lot of you might not even have seen this or know about it. You know, you got to go way back years into my YouTube channel and find some of this stuff. But we did this in 2005. See, let me get these dates right. 2005, I graduated undergrad? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I graduated undergrad, and then I went back to get my master's in jazz trombone performance and then jazz studies, respectively. And by the time I was, junior, senior, and my first year of master's at College Conservatory of Music at University of Cincinnati, I was really, really deep into the Mucusless Diet Healing System, hanging out with Brother Air. There's Brother Air right there, crossing the camera. I was really heavy into not only practicing a diet, but I was getting a great deal of inspiration by promoting it. Now, this says, children are our future, teach them well, or whatever it said there. And so this was something that I wanted to do when I started teaching as an adjunct professor of music at Northen Kentucky University, and then I had access to their resources, and I wanted to put on music concerts. As a musician, as a jazz musician, when you're playing art music that's not the popular music, there's not always a place that's obvious where you can just go and make your music. So the academia was kind of a place where you could sort of lobby to get some resources, to get some money, to be able to pay for musicians and pay people and stuff, take care of people, have the resources, the places to be able to play. And so that was what so then I just wanted to start combining all this. So I wanted to be able to play music and also promote Mucusless Diet. And at this time, in Cincinnati, there was no kind of really, holistic. There was maybe one holistic health conference sort of thing, but there was nothing on the level of what we were trying to get into. And so we said, okay, well, and this video was for the first one. We ended up doing 2 of these. But we had Breathairean Ensemble performance, and then in between, I had made this documentary film, and it played, like Breathairean Ensemble we played some songs, and then we had this 20-minute thing in between that played on a big screen, and then we came back out and we finished the concert. And some of those videos from that concert are up. If you Fly with the Wind is one of the most watched videos on the channel, and a couple other things. At the first time that I'm rapping on stage and doing that mucus and stuff. So that's all there. So to get kind of into what's going on here, I always kind of wanted to make documentaries, and I was just such a big documentary film fan. As I'd started really watching documentaries seriously, probably around, senior year in high school, junior year in high school, or something like that. But I got real into them in the first couple years of college. So I always kind of wanted to see if I, test myself at that medium, see what I could do. And so here I went with the camera out into the hood, as it were. This was kind of near where I lived, downtown Cincinnati. Is also Brother Air's down there. We lived really close together at one point. I was a resident advisor for a couple years, and then when I left that and moved into my own apartment, that was sort of a house, and it was very close to where Brother Air lived. But this was something I wanted to do, is just basically go out into the community and sort of have this almost like guerrilla approach to promoting the diet, where we were, we would hand things out and stuff like that. But that she was sort of nervous because it's not on camera, but I did this rap, and I used to do these raps that were, they weren't necessarily Professor Spira sort of raps, because they were kind of, it basically, it's like take gangster rap. So take some of the filthiest rap that you could find, but put it within the context of Mucusless diet and killing animals, and just something that's that raw. Talking about how the murder and the killing of the medical establishment and the ignorance of doctors and people in general, and so I was trying to make some really hardcore raps that kind of got some things off my chest. So I was actually standing out there rapping, and she saw me rapping, and she just was like, she got so nervous she didn't know what was going on. And so then I interviewed her, and that's why she, in that clip, she's kind of like, she doesn't know what to do. But what I noticed and what I see, and why it's important for us to be public and come out here and live our lifestyles and be open, is because it influences people by the sheer weight of social influence. People don't like to be on the outside of something. So if there's a circle of people that's into something, that's doing something, then in any conversation or interaction, the tendency for that person is going to want to be to gain your respect. So that's why you can talk to somebody that's totally crazy diet, but you start talking about the diet, and they'll start agreeing with you, and they'll start being like, yeah, I would, I eat better, I should eat better, and that kind of stuff. There's almost a science to it. Now, it doesn't always work with each personality, because some people will do the opposite, where they push back or they get real defensive for no reason at all, or they, that kind of thing. But oftentimes people are influenced by your presence. And when you have a presence that's fundamentally stronger than where they're at on a particular piece like diet, then it that's how you spread it. You spread that consciousness by just being there, and having the courage to be open about what you're doing, and that kind of thing. So that was something that I saw, because that sort of, and I make that point with the young lady, because she had kind of brought up, she was trying to basically qualify herself to me, that she, to almost make excuses about, like, well, I don't really eat this stuff and that kind of thing. And so that shows you the power of this kind of social influence. But, you need a lot more than that. But there's definitely a method to the madness along those lines of when you see different movements trying to appeal to the social sensibilities. And it's really important, for a movement and for getting this information out there. It has to spread organically in that manner. Now, here we went to this. It was supposed to be an African American health fair, but it was the sorriest, sickest, saddest health fair you ever want to see. To give an example, which I wish I'd have put it in this documentary, but I didn't. But there was a place from Spring Grove Cemetery that was actually selling cemetery plots. And just to see black folks up here, it's like leading sheep to the slaughter. I mean, there was no good information about health there. All the pharmaceutical, I was talking to the AstraZeneca pharmaceutical dude. It was just sad. Now, I'll admit here, this was a bit of movie magic. This clip doesn't necessarily correlate exactly. Like, these people aren't necessarily watching those girls dancing, but I was a bit of comedy. I thought it was hilarious that they were up there doing this shaking and dancing and stuff, and then I had this clip of these people that just looked so bored and just so tired, and so I had to do that. But but still. And then there's you always see these exploitative commercials. This was a Coca-Cola commercial where they're trying to exploit, Black History Month and this whole, like that's a part of, trying to make Coke a part of, like that's Black history. Coca-Cola, we're proud to sponsor such a, it's sickening. It's so sickening to me. The cultural exploitation, appropriation of subcultures is just by capitalists that have no interest in the people, no interest in the art forms that emerge, the character, the vibration, the love that's really within any given community of people. They just go and they prey on them. They steal some music, steal some whatever other aspects of culture, try to make some money off of it, then they move on to the next thing. And it's and it's particularly sickening, I think, in the arena of food and diet, because there's just so much misinformation, so much misunderstanding, and people lack the ability to think it through. And that's my problem. It's one thing if you have this barrage of all these commercials and all this stuff, but people oftentimes aren't equipped with the intelligence to know that they're supposed to question something. People don't even know that you're supposed to ask the question, is the protein theory correct? Is that real? Who created the vitamin theory? Where does the nutrition theory come from? Is it an age-old concept 3,000 years ago that somebody came up with? Or is it a very weak and problematic theorem developed in the 1800s? People don't ask those questions, and they don't investigate, and they don't have that kind of investment in what they want to try to promote and get behind. And then the people that do try to do that, here's Hanif doing. Look, he winked at the camera. I thought that this whole thing was funny, just because in this place we was just asking people, well, what do you think we should be eating? Because in a health fair, you would think that would be something that people would be talking about, like that would be important. And so go up to these different people. Okay, well, whatever you're doing, so what type of diet do you think we should eat? And nobody had any answers, because they're going to leave the health fair and go to McDonald's or Burger King, or go out to eat somewhere. They're not going to go home and make a big mucus salad, or go home and do a lemon enema, or go home and eat a bunch of apples or some grapes or something, or that level of consciousness is nowhere near. And people don't see that the cause and effect, because it's one thing if you understand and you see the cause and effect, you understand that the foundation of human illness is what you're eating, is plus some mucus-forming foods, and if you understand that and you continue to eat that stuff, I don't have a problem, because you know what you're doing to yourself. But then when you got folks that want to try to kid themselves about viruses and the genetic diseases and all this kind of stuff, and then just ignore what they're eating, it's bad news. These laws of health don't bend just because it doesn't make sense to you, because you've been fed a bunch of lies about nutrition and whatnot. Now this was funny. Another one of the things people kept bringing up or kept saying was exercise. Exercise more. Don't eat fried foods. And then she was kind of, I had a tendency to make people kind of nervous, because people they just look at me and they're like, this dude don't look like he's from here. This dude's from another planet. And she right before she said broiled chicken, she got nervous and it kind of swallowed. And I was just like, okay. And get your broiled chicken on. And I don't mean any of my analysis and my stuff. It's all, it's kind of comedy, and comedy is always about pain. The best comedy is gonna really always have to do with some kind of pain. Somebody's getting hurt. Somebody is working through something. There's some kind of pain issue involved, and that's why something's funny. And so I don't know. I thought this was hilarious. She's sitting there. She was just so nervous because I was basically asking her, because who asked that question? Okay, well, explain the protein theory to me, doctor. Like break it down for me. Break it down. How does dead pus tissue convert into living cells in my body? Because when cells and tissue die in my body, they're eliminated and they come out as mucus, or they're filtered through the kidneys. So how can I put dead tissue into my stomach and my body is going to magically turn that into some kind of living life force? I mean, that's one of the silliest things you could ever hope to think of. I mean, science fiction doesn't even get that silly. There's more logic to half the things you would see on a science fiction movie than to eat something totally dead and it magically revitalizes you. I mean, that makes no sense. But yeah. Now this was funny to me. They had this. It was like a play. And again, this is a health fair. I don't know why you're gonna have a thing about this play at health fair, but it was about marriage, and these girls were acting like they were in a getting their hair done and having girl talk and talking about getting married, and I don't know. For me, it's one of those things that shows you the level of consciousness of where we're at, the lack, just the lackluster value system and goals of what people want. If people they're not, it'd be one thing if it was a health fair and then they had a play about a female talking about, man, it's really hard to find good guys that don't eat pus and mucus-forming foods. I can't be with a guy that eats pus and mucus-forming foods. I mean, that would be a really strong thing. Yeah, that would be a good, because that's one way for guys to get it together, because all of a sudden girls start telling guys like, look, I can't be with you or do nothing with you as long as you're eating pus. And I'm probably not going to be attracted to you as long as you're eating mucus. I mean, when that starts happening, it's gonna. You want to talk about change the world? I mean, that's the kind of power that's going on with that dynamic. I don't even get into that right now. That's a whole other video. But you're talking about something that can change things in a matter of days. I mean, that can really change some things. And these are kind of conversations me and brother Air used to have all the time, and that kind of thing. But then, so with those clips of brother Air, you see him talking, and that was part of my vision for the documentary, was let me interview brother Air and kind of see, just, and he was in his brother Air persona outfit and stuff, and and just really kind of have some fun going over some things, and I got some good footage. I was able to go back and make some more videos, a couple years later, several years later now, and it was a lot of fun, and I really did enjoy making this. I planned on to continue making these kind of things, but it just, the energies didn't go in that direction. Things just went in a different direction. But it was really fun, and it's something I would like to get back to. I'd like to do more stuff like this, more videos. And I mean, you're talking about something that was made on the cheap, bought with borrowed equipment, super ghetto, as some people would say. At the beginning, when you see some of those clips where it looks real grainy, I mean, I literally had to record the screen of the camera, because at that time I had no cords or no way to convert the high 8 video camera that I shot some footage in. I had no way to convert that into digital medium at that time. Now I could, with the equipment I have now, I could do that. But back then I had no way to do it, and when I took it to the college to try to see if there was a way I could do it there, they didn't have the right stuff. I couldn't find anything online that I could afford, and so I basically just had to improvise, and I hated doing that, and that's why the quality is fairly bad. But I always hoped it gave it some kind of character, a little bit of vibe to it, because it was one of those things that was like, man, I don't want to have to do it like this, but I had to. But it was a lot of fun, and I get in some of these modes, like I'm kind of what I'm going through right now, just physiologically and in life. I'm going through some personal things too, and sometimes to get inspiration, I will sort of look back to some of the stuff we were doing. I mean, this was a special time for me back in 2005 through 2008. We were high octane, Breathairean, Mucusless community. It was really before a lot of the internet things and all that kind of stuff really hadn't blown up yet, but it we were there, and you had a radio show. It was a lot of people getting exposed to this information that never would have been. We were doing these real long fasts together, and that's a real powerful piece to understand, is what it's like when you're sort of in close proximity to other people, and you're all fasting at the same time. That was an incredible experience. And when we used to just show up places like we did in this, if we showed up with the whole community, people didn't know what to do with us. I mean, they couldn't stop staring at us, because it just looked like we were from a total different planet. Like we were just from a different country on a different planet. I mean, it's so obvious that you don't fit in. And for me, I'm proud of that, because when I look around at this thing, I don't want to fit into this like that. I mean, I want to, I'm going to do what I need to do to survive and stuff, but people that I know that really, really practice Mucusless diet and get to these higher levels, we don't fit into this thing. And we just don't, we just don't fit into this, the way that society is structured. And, it's just not comfortable. And so we need to create our own thing. And that's what we're working on. That it's not the kind of thing that happens overnight. And we know that what has to come first is there's a certain level of physiological cleanliness that we got to get to, because we got to be clean. Like, we can't be halfway filthy, and then we trying to put together Mucusless community or that kind of thing. We got to really, really be clean on these real high levels. And so that's what I know that Breathairean, myself, we're all working on that, trying to just get to these higher levels. And there was always higher levels to get to, so I'm never worried about I'm going to get there. There's always higher levels, but you can definitely get over. We always use the term getting over humps, where you try to get over is, okay, I want to get over this hump. Let me get over this next hump. And that just represents sort of a new plateau point and a new goal, a new level of elimination, a new level of cleanliness. And so it always is doing that. And it's never boring. For me, the transition and this whole process is never boring. It's never the same old, because there's always a new challenge, always something new to learn. knew something new that you realized that never occurred to you before. Because this thing is just so. I mean, we're developing it, but I mean, it's underdeveloped in terms of the amount of people that have really seriously went down this path and then been able to report back to say, okay, well, check this out, or this is what happens. What happens when you practice a mucusless diet and you get into a relationship, or what happens when you practice a mucusless diet and you are celibate for years. What happens when you get into the diet and you do a year-long, real long fast, or fruit periods or whatever. And like I said, it's hard to talk about my long fast and Brother Air's long fast because I don't want other people, I don't promote that. I don't want people feel like they have to do that. But at the same time, like those of us that did feel the need to do long fast and we've done them, we at least put into question and try and challenge all of these insane notions about nutrition theories and all that kind of stuff. And that's mainly the purpose. Oftentimes, if you see Brother Air talking about his long fast, or if I talk about mine or something like that, we're showing, we want to say, like, look, we've gone far enough to see that the nutrition theories pretty much can be scrapped, in my opinion, and start over again. I mean, we can just like start over with something else, start over with something new, and we can get into the chemistry and in sort of cellular regeneration, cellular cleansing. I mean, we can get into that, but there's so much cognitive dissonance when we are trapped within the concept of additive principle, that you need this. I haven't ingested any. I've been fasting for about a month now, so I've been, raw, mucusless, whatever, all these terms, liquidarian, whatever you want to call me, fruit juices, lemon juice, some days of water fasting, whatever. I haven't had anything that had fat in it. And some people say, well, you need fat. I will have something with fat in it again in my life, but I don't crave it. I don't crave fat. I don't crave salt. I don't crave, and I've done this other times of really long periods of time where I didn't get whatever they said you were supposed to get. And so I'm just saying, for me, it's easier to just totally scrap those theories and let's start over again. Because what people try to do is they try to adapt those theories to a fruitarian consciousness or a raw vegan consciousness or whatever. And it's always going to fall short because those theories weren't based on natural living. Those theories will always have their roots deeply rooted in pus eating. The eating of pus-forming foods, meat eating. And they were created, in essence, to support and nurture the diets of the people that made the theories, that they wanted some kind of validation for what they were eating. I mean, that is the sign of narcissistic addicts. If you take narcissists and you take somebody that's addicted to pus and mucus, I mean, it would make sense. Like, well, what I eat is obviously the greatest thing that's out here. And so I'm going to create an entire science based on supporting and nurturing me and my diet and what I eat, and my observations, so all the chemistry that I examine is going to serve to support my theories, so that I can eat what I want to eat in peace and feel good about it. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but just the history of it is sickening to me, and we just have to investigate that and break free is a psychological warfare. I mean, that's where I hope to be some kind of anchor, is to say that you believe what you want to believe in, but interrogate it and study it and really look at it and really see if it is what it is, because there's explanations that come from a mucusless perspective, that come from these other perspectives that explain what's going on with people. Concept of deficiencies, B12 myth, all these things can be explained, and I won't do that now. But at the end of the day, it's about regeneration of the human body, getting the human body back together, getting the organs functioning properly, the glands, lymphatic system moving, kidneys filtering, and mucus-free foods as the staple, as what's normal for you to eat. And of course you transition, and as long as you maintain that transition mentality, you will be able to make it. So I want to thank you, and enjoyed making this little commentary video. And I want to make more stuff like this where I just kind of random go and do stuff online, because if I'm looking at like Facebook feeds or Google or something, I mean, I always will find things that will trigger some kind of discussion, some kind of analysis, and there's a lot of topics that come up that people like to hear about and stuff. So try to find some interesting ways to kind of put it out there. And so again, I thank you, and until next time, peace, love, and breath.